President of the Republic of Armenia, Serj Sarkisian, and his entourage are expected in Beirut overnight, where they will continue their public relations tour promoting the proposed protocols with which Armenia plans to establish diplomatic relations with Turkey. Since the announcement of these protocols on August 31, Armenians around the world, including many here in the diaspora and the homeland, have been expressing their disbelief and anger that the Republic of Armenia would accept these terms being laid down. And these are terms that the State Department here in the U.S. is pressuring Armenia to accept. These poorly written proposals call for Armenia to make lethal concessions like accepting the current Armenian and Turkish border over Armenia's historic borders. If signed, these protocols would force Armenia to give up rights to all Western Armenian territories which are currently under Turkish rule. The protocols also ask Armenia to stop pursuing international recognition of the Armenian genocide by proposing to establish a historical committee that will address whether the mass killings of nearly 2 million Armenians was truly a pre-planned campaign of genocide. And further angering the Armenian diaspora are statements by Turkish leaders that Turkey will only sign the protocols and stop and lift its blockade of Armenia when Armenians in Karabakh concede their autonomy and turn their republic over to Azeri rule. Now, over the weekend, President Sarkisian made appearances in New York and Los Angeles, where he was greeted by tens of thousands of angry Armenian Americans. The president would not talk to the media, neither here in American media or Armenian media, but his visit was followed his steps, or he basically stopped in Paris and then came to New York. And in Paris, French police violently broke up peaceful demonstrations at the statue of Gomidas. Now, to talk about all this and kind of illuminate this story is Ken Hachikian, the Armenian National Committee of America Chairman. Ken, welcome to Horizon.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Ken, I want to first ask you what your message to the President was when you met him in New York.
It was really very simple, Paul. The message was, how dare you expend our political capital in entering into such ill-advised agreements with Turkey, which all of us know are full of preconditions, notwithstanding your assertions to the contrary.
Ken, what was his reaction to what you said?
He was visibly disturbed. Really, he hadn't been, at least in our meeting, by the time I spoke, directly called out on this. And although he didn't respond at the time, at the end of the meeting, he gave a 35-minute closing remark in which he devoted virtually all of that to attempting to rebut the comments that I and some others had made that directly called him on the carpet.
Ken, do you think he's going to be taking the community reaction into consideration, or was this just a pre forma effort for show only?
I fear, Paul, very much that all of this is for show. I hope he has the wisdom to listen what he heard consistently in Paris and New York and L.A., and what I presume he will be hearing in Beirut and in Russia. The diaspora is overwhelmingly and clearly opposed to these protocols. It's clear that there's very significant opposition in Armenia as well, and one would hope that the president would listen. If he doesn't, in my view, he is forfeiting any legitimacy that he has to claim to be president of Armenia.
Let's also talk about why the president's staff was keeping most of these meetings off the record and restricting media coverage. What was that all about?
Clearly, the president and his entourage wishes to spin these meetings in a positive vein. If you saw any of the press coming out of Armenia regarding the Paris meetings, they were all glowing, they were all positive. We know that was far from the case, but by attempting to keep meetings off the record, it allows them to put out their story. In our New York meetings, he told the participants that the meetings were off the record and that everybody should treat them as such. And when it came around to my turn to speak, I prefaced my remarks by telling the president that the affairs of our nation, of our people, that was so near and dear to us, could not be discussed behind closed doors. It was a necessity that all of us be aware of what was occurring, and that as far as we were concerned, the meetings were on the record.
Okay. One more question, Ken. We heard over the weekend that Senator Bob Menendez, who is a Senate member on the Foreign Relations Committee, is calling these protocols, quote, frankly absurd. Tell us about his reaction.
When the senator was informed of the protocols and their dangerous implications, he readily concurred that it was clearly a very bad course for Armenia to pursue, that Armenia was being placed under undue pressure, and that they were very ill-advised. He offered his perspective in his comments at the Armenian National Committee Eastern Regional Banquet this past Saturday evening, where he was the honoree of the Eastern Region for the ANC Freedom Award. And he was very vocal in expressing to those in attendance his opposition to the protocols.
Okay. Ken Hachikian, ANCA Chairman, thank you very much.